First appearing in chapter 149 with an official introduction in chapter 156, Michael Kaiser takes the stage as the next rival for our main character Isagi Yoichi. It feels like quite a while since the start of the new Egotist League, so allow me to re-jog the memories of those who need it. Kaiser was the man to stop Isagi from finishing his first training test of Bastard Manshine. This, and approaching Isagi with the arrogance of someone who believes that they are the star of the show, developed his new fixation that lands on the man who seeks to find entertainment and fulfillment in destroying Isagi, and what better way to begin a rivalry by placing them at polar opposites of the ranking system, with Kaiser being at the top of the charts and Isagi now having to work his way up from dead last at the 21st position. Isagi's new goal is to beat Kaiser. He thought of what constitutes as beating him would be to outrank him and become rank number 1 in the Bastard ranking system, but of course Isagi had his work cut out for him, so he sought the advice of the master of Bastard, Noah. This right here was the point of us knowing that this rivalry will be Isagi's toughest challenge yet, as even the advice of Noah didn't help him enough to become a starter on the Bastard NEL team. Kaiser's lackeys centered the team around him when playing against FC Barcha. They attempted to recruit the only starter BLUELOCK player Kunigami into their formation, but this didn't work out as Kunigami didn't seek to be anyone's assistant. This was when Kaiser was arguably at his most fortunate. The difficulty involving becoming a regular and outranking Kaiser was demonstrated as Isagi needed to break the team's starting lineup so centered around the man he seeks to surpass. Chapter 162 reveals the execution of Kaiser's weapon, the fastest right foot swing strike in the world. This weapon was named Kaiser's Impact, and Noah even admits that that was the one thing Kaiser had him beat, which isn't common to hear from the world's best striker. This information left Isagi stunned. Not only this, but Kaiser's actions and positioning on the pitch with and without the ball perfectly represented Isagi's ideal movements. The player he wanted to be was on display, and it was this blue rose asshole Isagi needed to put in his place. With Kunigami failing to establish himself as a useful component for the team currently, he is subbed out for Isagi, who is joined by Noah during the star chain system. Isagi was not the next highest ranked player in the team. In fact, the honor went to Yukimiya, but Noah said how the world wanted to see BLUELOCK's hero and the fact that was in his contract. Which begs the question, if Isagi didn't get that last goal during the U20 match and instead someone else did, would that make his job of surpassing Kaiser easier or harder? As soon as Isagi was implemented into the match, he unfortunately made the mistake of believing he was the difference maker against the world's best, leading to his first mistake, which only showed him the difference in rationality to Kaiser, and since the team was built off that rationality, he needed to adapt and develop fast, because if not, nothing will go in Isagi's favor. This panel in chapter 164 also shows a good element of foreshadowing. Isagi looking to devour the superstar, which under this context falls under Noah, but the perception of that will change later on. You'll see. Chapter 166 was the first time Isagi intercepted a ball to Kaiser. Of course, Isagi on his own doesn't have the tools necessary to do anything with this stolen opportunity, as his individual skills were lacking. Of course, the entire team wouldn't give Isagi a chance to prove himself, as the team isn't centered around him. But there's something that Isagi has Kaiser beaten, and the seeds were planted as early as the end of chapter 166. Isagi, being the genius of adaptability, was not afraid to abandon or change aspects of himself when he sought out to become better. This was the first time whilst rereading where that felt like it was a fully intentional setup for the future. Isagi's only way to feel like he wasn't a pawn to Kaiser's rule was to assist Kunigami to get him a goal. This was his way of challenging Kaiser and subverting his expectations of Isagi for the very first time. This goal ended the game as a win for Bastard and gave a whole new perspective for Isagi to study, vowing to Kaiser after the match that he will make him the naked emperor after taking everything away from him. Kinda kinky. The impact of Kaiser first appearing, the demonstration of his abilities, philosophy, and personality gave Isagi a new outlook of how much he needs to improve to overcome his next barricade. Isagi's first bid of 17 million is revealed from the club Berserk Dortmund, but his new rival Kaiser completely demolishes that in value with a bid of 300 million from the current club he is in, Bastard Manshine. Ego reveals only the top 23 highest bid players will be able to automatically join the U20 team. This plotline never threatened Isagi, as he always stayed within the top 5 players range. It rather threatened other fan favourites throughout the arc, but Isagi would have been in trouble if he let Kaiser continuously shut him down, not allowing him to get a bid that will put Kaiser's rule on notice. The third game of the Neo Egoist League is revealed. Bastard Manshine will face off against Manshine City. Isagi wants to win with his own goal for the next match, and discussions of Isagi's assist are getting heated between Isagi and Yukimiya. Kaiser steps in and offers to make Yukimiya a servant of his own, since he shows a display of distaste for the favoured Isagi. This is an aspect of Kaiser in which we don't think much on, as he tried as early as chapter 171 to recruit fellow Blue Lockers into his ranks. However, Kaiser's way of approaching this was actively building up his number of servants instead of bringing out the best in his teammates, so the offer to Yukimiya of course fell flat. However, this offer Kaiser made to Yukimiya had everyone thinking, to make it as a regular on this team you either have to be a part of Kaiser's system or reign independently to devour the team. Isagi's new target is to reach the state between anxiety and boredom known as the flow, and he will accomplish that through rivaling Kaiser, and it's thanks to Kaiser Isagi tries so much harder to become a regular and ends up becoming an offensive midfielder. This is also the chapter that Isagi gains his first ally in Kurina, who will play as right side back and seek to link up with Isagi and Kunigami. The formation of the game is beginning to change and Kaiser's slowly beginning to lose ground to Isagi's influence, and more is to come later. The formation to go against Manshine City has been decided. Two philosophies will clash on different sides of the field, Kaiser on the left and the Blue Lockers on the right. Isagi said it best, me and Kunigami opened a hole, and now Blue Lock is slowly taking over the team. A team in which Kaiser once had complete control over, now tilting in the favour of the young egoist. The kickoff between Bastard and Manshine commences. In order for Isagi to truly overtake Kaiser, first he acknowledged the fact that Kaiser is the superior version of himself, and the only way to overtake him is to study and analyze everything he does to evolve himself. Isagi of course aims to intercept pass balls to Kaiser in order to score for himself, but lacks the capabilities on his own to make it further upfield. Through Chiguru's goal in the match, it allows Isagi to learn the philosophy of Chiguru, which will be utilized to bring Isagi closer to his ideals. Kaiser approaches the ongoing conversation in order to give Isagi his opinion, advice that really is just meant to taunt Isagi since he's not making a good enough individual impression in the game. Kaiser further teases Isagi by giving him the starting pass, but Isagi has his backup Kurina to trade passes with to advance up the field as a duo. The speed of Kurina's short turns alongside the previous practice the pair have done together makes for a combination of passing that is beginning to outmatch Manshine's defenses. The birth of the Planet Hotline to dominate the right side of the field. However, this script was rejected by the man of the video, Kaiser. I hope he doesn't mean my script. This was the first interception Kaiser has ever done to Isagi before he receives the ball, but it seems the clash of philosophies is backfiring as Manshine once again have taken the ball and is delivering the pressure. Nagi attempts to deliver the ball to the net with this very familiar shot, but is blocked by Yukimiya. Isagi is once again facing people who have advanced to a much higher level of skill, Nagi beginning to create his own plays, Ryo using the abilities of the likes of Rin and Sei, and Chiguru with his new dominant goal path. He has to contest with this and much more due to Kaiser now being in the sabotaging competition with him. Isagi was not able to stop the counter push from Manshine City, but Kaiser was ready for it, clearing the ball and once again putting the pressure on Isagi to mentally keep up or die trying. Following close behind Kaiser, studying him from his viewpoint will provide what Isagi needs. He notices Kaiser isn't just looking straight ahead, he's rotating his neck to see much more of the pitch at the same time. Kaiser, with the use of Kaiser's impact and the later mentioned Predator's Eye, scores a goal for Bastard. However, this doesn't upset Isagi because now he's found a new puzzle piece to evolve and slowly form himself to the most ideal player. Studying Kaiser as his superior is making our main character evolve. This is the importance of Kaiser. No other could ever drive Isagi forward like Kaiser does, and we will see more of why these two are the perfect level of toxicity for each other. Paying attention to Kaiser's process instead of the end result is the true piece for Isagi's new plan. There's way more to the human eye than what us mere casuals can realize, and this is our big talking point for the rest of this match. Why? Isn't it obvious? Chapter 182, the reveal of the godlike vision ability known as Metavision. And this ability being realized was thanks to Kaiser, because Isagi's entire time within Blue Lock has been unknowingly tapping into this pristine ability. He knew it was in him, but only by studying what he believes to be the ideal version of himself, he was able to come to this conclusion at last, and Kaiser doesn't realize the potential for growth Isagi has with this newfound theory, the start of the new Isagi Yoichi we all know today. To summarize, summarize, the impact of Michael Kaiser we need to acknowledge is that without him, Isagi wouldn't evolve as quickly. He was just enough of a challenge for Isagi to rapidly grow. He alone unintentionally taught Isagi a new philosophy, the importance of analysis on a higher level, gave Isagi challenges to overcome in the underdog position, and of course, the realization of metavision. To say Kaiser isn't important would be extremely disingenuous, but we have more to cover, folks, so strap in. The restart of the game commences. The score is 1-1 and Isagi is already putting his new theory to the test, processing, optimized off-the-ball movements, and making himself aware of everything around him by simply moving his neck. Information overload isn't ever an issue. Isagi needs every possible detail to feel within his flow state. Using his intuition and reading of the field, he intercepts a pass from Nagi, and it's clear to everyone now that Isagi has changed. Metavision is his new home, and he resides within the confines to become the new ruler of the pitch. Now he starts using metavision on the offense. Isagi and Kurona now are breaking through the middle at a rapid pace, but Isagi's eyes and mind are moving so much faster. Him and Kurona alone break through every amount of defense, using Kunigami as bait, which results in Isagi's moment to score. But what's a main character without his rival? Even with Kaiser as an obstacle, Isagi shoots through his legs, but the goal is stolen by a goal-poaching Kunigami. Isagi's passion, his frustrations, his ego boils past the point of normal comprehension. Kaiser's teasers did more to enrage Isagi, but this isn't the moment to break, as even Noah acknowledges that this is his golden path ticket into becoming the world's best striker. Being rational as his team philosophy guides him to be, Isagi figures out he's broke through the next level with his analysis and drive to improve, but he then realizes the physical and mental toll metavision takes. A clear gap between him and Kaiser is shown in how Kaiser operates at a high level of stamina until the end, whilst Isagi is running low only for using it for part of the match so far. Though even at this stage of the manga, Kaiser and Isagi are beginning to make the same moves. Their visions are competing against one another's, so it's now about whose attributes and allies will be more beneficial. Isagi and Kaiser start competing for the ball from Nagi, both looking to claim it at just the right time. The visions may be clashing, but it came down to whoever had the best approach to the situation. First Isagi fails, then Kaiser fails. Then they both fail the moment Nagi did his fourth fake volley and hits the fifth to score the second goal for Manshine. Whilst Nagi in this moment felt like he beat Isagi, Isagi has not lost the battle yet. In fact, the clash was only just getting interesting. The match wasn't over and there was one final goal to claim, and it would of course be the most highly contested one of the whole match. So much so that even the masters come onto the pitch. Noah states to his team that he will ally himself with whoever plays the most logically. The game now restarts with one final goal to decide the winner. Kaiser and Chris Prince are matching off, and it's clear Kaiser is outmatched by a superior physical attributes of the master. And whilst Manshine gains possession of the ball, Isagi is realizing the physical disadvantages he has even with his far superior vision. Chris Prince executes a strike referred to as his new illogical weapon in order to beat Noah, but Isagi, without even directing his attention to the ball and instead towards the goal, he can see the possibilities of Chris scoring, but he can save it by making sure all bases are covered. Gagumaru goes low and Isagi goes high and saves the ball by hitting it off the crossbar, a play that shocks everyone. Through this moment, Isagi had devoured the world's number 2 player, as it was easily predictable of where the strike became easiest to counter. This was one of those plays Kaiser could not even see. It was clearly only a possibility from where Isagi was positioned, as Kaiser couldn't even make an attempt in doing what Isagi did, which saved the game for Bastard. Now the counter is on. Kurona and Isagi have the possession of the ball, but of course Isagi has ops up his ass and Yukimiya steals the ball from him. Yukimiya's efforts were pointless though. The ball gets saved by Chris Prince this time. Isagi offers Yukimiya to team up, but of course Isagi looks to what could benefit him, which is not considering what Yukimiya's ego wants. He has to understand that aspect of people he wishes to ally himself with, because otherwise he will end up just like Kaiser. A ruler who limits his servant's inspiration and ego in order for him to be uncontested as a solo player. But as a team player, that opportunity falls into Isagi's lap, who will play this game with a lot more possibilities in mind, gaining the knowledge of the protagonist's egoism theory to better understand why people are so prideful or even delusional within themselves. This was once again a lesson learned from the fact that Kaiser was even around. The mere statement of comparing Isagi and Kaiser's approaches aligning made Isagi take in this whole new perspective to now know what he must do. Fast forward and we reach a sequence where Manshine is putting on the pressure. Isagi was the only one able to stop the attack from Reo and Nagi thanks to his developing study of egocentrism. I know it's a weird word, Just go with it. Isagi is reaching a wall that he and Kurena's current capabilities cannot surpass. And I've mentioned this before, his body isn't able to handle the strain of metavision like Kaiser's can yet. Another goal just out of reach, literally and figuratively. He only discovered metavision mid-match, so it's only natural his body isn't conditioned to upkeep the stamina necessary for the use. However, a whole new path is opened up thanks to the assistance of Noah, siding with Isagi thanks to Isagi's recent saves and overall most logical plays on the field. Options are beginning to shine brightly, but to truly hone the one with the best results, narrow it down until a singular option can be used to win. The thing that is driving Isagi forward once again past his limits is the desire to fucking destroy Kaiser. Sadly, Isagi cannot win right now. Whilst Isagi did everything right, he did everything he could in his condition, there is still the looming factor of lacking an ideal body to produce the best results for Isagi's kind of play. Throughout this entire story, a lack of physical stat attributes caught up to him, but Isagi didn't need the final goal to outsmart Kaiser in the end, as he already knew his own limits. Whilst Isagi and Kaiser head-to-head would lead to Kaiser winning, he beat Kaiser's vision in this moment. By demonstrating the option Kaiser could not see, an unexpected pass to Yukiya leads to Yukiya scoring the final goal of the match. Kaiser approaches Isagi after the match, admitting to have been defeated in the Battle of Metavision, but the Battle of Strikers will begin in the next game, as now Isagi has the capabilities to grow into a formidable one-on-one foe for the Blue Rose Emperor. Now in relation to this, we get some time with Noah and Isagi discussing how Isagi is able to dethrone Kaiser with the use of metavision. I find this entire conversation to be just so fulfilling and refreshing, as it shows the obvious interest Noah has in Isagi even though Kunigami is crafted to be the replica of Noah. Noah is definitely showing a preference for logic in Isagi's ego and philosophy. Then it's revealed Isagi has a new bid of 50 million, putting him in 4th behind Barcha, Nagi and the current top player Burū. So wow, Kaiser pushed up Isagi by 33 million by Isagi studying him and discovering metavision? Yeah, that's right. Whilst Isagi is a player in his own right and may have not needed Kaiser in order to discover metavision or even get a high bid, he needed Kaiser to evolve so quickly. And it's because of this evolution that Isagi was able to keep up with the likes of Ryo, Nagi and Chigli, and even Chris Prince at some points. If the impact of Kaiser in the story wasn't clear enough, Isagi in one match, thanks to studying Kaiser, managed to compete with the plays from the number 2 striker in the world, Chris Prince. Of course, none of Isagi's plays were direct wins against him, but they definitely put him on edge as we see here. Anyway, we later in chapter 207 see Kaiser again, but this time alone with Nest to discuss Isagi. Kaiser takes pleasure in crushing people. Everyone that's ever been considered his rival has simply been a target for Kaiser to destroy, but he addressed Isagi as a different case. Isagi's will and determination to adapt, fight and overcome is even having Kaiser question his own logic. No naturally determined man can last with this much punishment, yet Isagi is striving under these conditions. No matter how much Kaiser puts him down, the egoist will always rise to the occasion to be rebuilt as a new Isagi. Then it's revealed why Kaiser is in BLUELOCK helping with the project. Of course, one reason is to crush Isagi, but the other is to force himself out of the Noah centralized bastard team. And now, to devour the hero of BLUELOCK will increase Kaiser's value exponentially. By the way, this hyperfixation on Isagi will be Kaiser's biggest mistake, but it's also Ness's biggest turn-off, or turn-on. I don't know, that lip biting is sending mixed messages. Oh, remember that time that Igaguri spouted some nonsense that led to Isagi's next development? If you guys are excited for the impact of Igaguri video, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Isagi with this newfound idea rushes to find Kunigami. This idea was one that he believed could beat Michael Kaiser in the next match, but that'll be touched on more later. The reveal of the formation for Bastard to go up against the Ubers is beginning to see more BLUELOCK players than Bastard players. The shift is becoming more apparent and Kaiser's control is being minimized every NAL match. Noah does mention to Kaiser to not get so fixated on Isagi, which is a clear hint to the mistakes he will begin to make. You'll see the effects of Kaiser losing the balance in his team through this match, as the bet between him and Isagi is still on. Whoever scores the most goals wins the bet. The kickoff initiates between Bastard and the Ubers. Kaiser with Ness and Grimm is showcasing the fast link-up play, in which results with Kaiser almost completely uncontested with the ball, but here comes the ace eater Don Lorenzo. Lorenzo on his own makes up field and passes to the Uber's ace Burū, but Isagi intercepts in a flawless fashion, showing his comfortable adjustment to the utilization of metavision. Isagi and Kurona begin to make it up the field. Isagi's dribbling has gotten a lot better alongside his ability to use metavision since the last match. As he uses Yukiya as deliberate bait, all the while in possession of the ball, Kaiser attempts to begin a challenge against Isagi, but Don Lorenzo is going to be marking my man for pretty much the whole game, so that leaves the job up to Ness to sabotage Isagi. Ness claims Isagi's direct shot is defective, but this was merely the chance to demonstrate how much Isagi has grown since the last match. The mere right-hand man to the main boss was surpassed, as if Isagi every match was dismantling Kaiser's philosophy one puzzle piece at a time. Isagi scores an unexpected but hype goal using his newly developed lefty direct shot. The first goal scored by Isagi was uncontested by Kaiser, a personal win for Isagi, but unless he can do that when competing with Kaiser, it would not mean as much. But this brought him one step closer in winning this bet against the Blue Rose Emperor. Anyway, time for the context and how Isagi developed such an amazing weapon. Since his dominant leg is his right, he needed to go to the only other person who learned to be ambidextrous, and that person was of course Kunigami. This was Isagi's idea in how he could score goals and beat Kaiser, an answer to the weakness of his regular direct shot. Isagi now has a goal against the Ubers and Kaiser, but of course this leads him to being pressed by the opponents. The Ubers retrieve the ball, and of course a team centered around Burū would lead to Burū scoring. Through this goal, Isagi discovers a new type of vision, a vision that Kaiser also uses, known as Predator's Eye. Kaiser and Ness's advance on the restart fails. The lockdown results in Isagi grabbing the loose ball, but now Nico pursues, and now we have another metavision to... With more metavision players to deal with, it will become more difficult for Isagi to find openings no one else can see. But Kaiser also has his own problems. Isagi was able to move much more freely by comparison because he's not being man-marked, so this is also a new situation where Kaiser's playing the underdog role for the first time. Isagi starts using Raichi's superior marking to ensure Nico cannot make full use of his metavision, but now it's just a bargain sale because IQ has it as well and stops Isagi in his tracks. However, Isagi has a mudboat to rely on in dire times. Nah, Yukiya was blocked by Lorenzo, but that means Kaiser is free. So out of nowhere, Kaiser uses a pass directed at Yukiya to score his own goal with the Kaiser's impact bicycle kick, which is honestly one of my top 5 favorite goals in the series. This is just the result of letting Kaiser roam free. The moment he was not man-marked by Lorenzo, he carried himself perfectly to a goal-scoring position and gained a point for his team, whilst also tying up the score with 1 goal apiece against Isagi. The climax will decide whose philosophy will take over the team and allow them to become the king of bastard Manshine. Kaiser shares no enjoyment feasting on Isagi's scraps of a pass to score, as it was clearly not the type of victory he was after, but it still means that they are tied and the winner has yet to be decided in their bet. Substitutes are now made for exhausted players of the Ubers and Bastard, as the star exchange begins. Snuffy, the master of the Ubers, and Noah enter onto the pitch. Isagi's passion of the game is rubbing off on a less inspired individual on the sidelines. Proving Isagi's philosophy is showing external benefits much more than anticipated. The biggest difference, as I've already mentioned, between Kaiser and Isagi is their use for other players. Kaiser is limiting whilst Isagi is potential. Let us see how this match will turn out now. Snuffy proves to be an extremely difficult challenge for Isagi, even with the help of Noah, but Isagi and Kaiser are still on the same mindset to stop the engagement of the Ubers. Their visions are matching off once again, but Snuffy, with his immense level of strategies and tactics, pressure Bastard time and time again. Isagi only barely hangs in there with a pass course leading and ending at Burū, making it easier for Isagi to intercept. Noah admits that they have to stall out Snuffy for 3 minutes in order for the situation of the game to change, meaning that the best striker in the world has nothing to provide his team, while Snuffy is the controlling variable of his team's tactics. But Isagi, through learning the benefits of patience, is now in a situation where he can come up with a plan to once again draw out the capabilities of his teammates. This plan involves Raichi, and this will be the way that Isagi counters Snuffy, or supposedly counters Snuffy, because in the end Burū gets sick of the copy-paste format and scores through his own inspiration alone. A tie game at 2-2, and the last goal shall be decided between BLUELOCK's hero, the Hungry Lion, or the Blue Rose Emperor. Isagi acknowledges that his options may have ran on empty due to Kaiser and Burū constantly contesting him. He needs a solution, and that solution can be realized with less rationality and more emotion. So he asks if Hiyori can now come onto the pitch now that the star exchange timer is up, instead of the more logical pick of Kiora. At first, Noah rejects this emotional given argument, but the egoists have a drive to even prove the top striker wrong. Hiyori, with a more rational explanation, provides why him and Isagi are the components that can make Bastard win win the game. So now it's down to them to prove Noah wrong, because otherwise they won't be inserted into the starting lineup of the next game. One of the first times that Isagi thought with more emotion than logic. Maybe it was just about finding a healthy balance. The competitiveness is rising with each moment as Kaiser and Isagi contest on their sides of the pitch to always collide in the center when there's an opportunity. Hiyori tries to score for himself to see if he was worthy of the honor of being a professional footballer and comes up short. However, Isagi knows that this is the piece he needs in order to beat Kaiser. The possibilities are beginning to expand. No narrowed down vision, no hyperfixation, only one true spoiler is certain. Isagi's ambitions and Hiyori's greed lead them down the road to complete the synchronization of visions, ending the game with Isagi's second goal, winning the match and the bet. Kaiser's fit of rage is on display, realizing his loss and failure once again in undermining Isagi. Or maybe this time it was the hyperfixation in which was his true downfall, as he never found his own path to victory by focusing on crushing Isagi directly. Isagi's new bid proves to be impressive, now placing him at second out of all the Blue Lock players, just behind the new number 1 and already established rival Rin Itoshi. Kaiser is devising his way to end Isagi once and for all to be concluded in the final match of the NEL, Bastard Manshine vs PXG. A lot of this video has been a rundown of the events of the manga story that has Kaiser in it, but every aspect involving Isagi's decisions during the NEL are made for the purpose of beating Kaiser. It's why we look into their rivalry and everything that surrounds it. It's simply the result of cause and effect. The cause was Kaiser, the effect was Isagi's rapid growth. So what more does Kaiser have to offer after losing to Isagi in a bet that he made to him? Well, I'm so glad this story doesn't end here. Chapter 241 and so on. As Kaiser is training, we finally get a slight glimpse into the backstory of Kaiser and Ness's football careers. The relationship between these two characters have been strenuous as Kaiser provides the magic of football, Ness needs to be motivated as his whole life was surrounded by logic. Simply put, Ness doesn't seem to be in the team for himself. Being a bastard was simply to follow the only magic he could find for himself, and that magic was Michael Kaiser. Although from the character that we know Kaiser to be, he alone is the reason why Ness can't follow his own path, falsely believing in the magic that Kaiser brings alone, which makes Ness just a servant to Kaiser's selfish tyranny. This showcases Kaiser has more of an impact on just Isagi but other players too, Ness being just as influenced, if not even more influenced than Isagi by Kaiser's presence. Kaiser's hatred-fueled determination led him to strangling himself, torturing himself to come up with an answer to destroy Isagi, finding his answer through a heavily toxic method. This next match will be our ultimate section of our analysis into the impact of Michael Kaiser. He has had the most character development in this match alone. Chapter 249. Let the kickoff between Bastard and PXG commence. The formation of Bastard's team has shifted once again. The larger majority of players are from Blue Lock instead of Kaiser's servants. The numbers continue to dwindle, and now Kaiser is appearing to be more of the underdog. Last match really did set the tone of who would be the king of Bastard, and right now that responsibility falls onto Isagi. Kaiser is trying his best to work with what he's got, but there is a target on his back, and Isagi is also struggling to fight back against the dominant formation of PXG, as neither Isagi or Kaiser can get the ball off Rin, and instead Hiyori intercepts. These two rivals are becoming dead even in metavision feats, and are constantly seeing into the same scenario. They both are now tampering with each other so much that it's ruining the outcome for both of them. Due to these bitter rivals' mistakes through equal feats, PXG's first goal occurs when Shido scores. A shifting point hits the scene as Noah begins to benefit Isagi's philosophy and tactics by making Kunigami man mark Shido to limit PXG's options for Isagi's and Hiyori's link up to dominate the field. Kaiser is continuously forced to make a backpedal approach to the ball Ness gives him, as it's being challenged at every turn. This constant destruction of his only reliable tactic is not only damaging to him, but beneficial to Isagi. Isagi, with a pass that he managed to get out of Kunigami, is now in full control of the ball, but this time Kaiser is there to contest alongside Rin. I look at this as Isagi's first proper win against Kaiser, a match of where they are in contention with the ball that Isagi did not foresee. Shooting it will have Rin block it, whilst trapping it will have Kaiser snatch it to score. If you don't consider this move a proper win for Isagi, then you're wrong. 2-on-1 against the best active players in the NEL, not including the Masters, and Isagi comes out on top by beating Rin and Kaiser at the same time with a 2-gun volley. Do you think if Kaiser wasn't there, he would be able to pull this off ever? For me, I don't think so. The high contention, high stakes, and massive development that led to Isagi managing in the situation against his two top rivals, as if it was meant to happen for him to finally surpass them both in the NEL, is crazy. So, is that it? Isagi won and Kaiser failed? Well, not exactly. There is still much more for Isagi to discover through the impact of Kaiser. You'll see. Kaiser, from his usual calmer and cocky demeanor on the pitch, was beginning to break down. Everything was unraveling, bit by bit, but in this match, it was all sped up. Much more than any sane human being can deal with in one go. Grim, another one of Kaiser's servants, was subbed off for Isagi's ally Kurina. Another goal can completely crush Kaiser's spirit, truly making him the Naked Emperor, and that's what Isagi was aiming for. Kaiser's only loyal subject left was Ness, so now it's time for Kaiser to feel the full relentless pressure of BLUELOCK. He somehow manages to get to a goal scoring spot, and if he plays it more patient, he will be able to get a goal. Instead, he runs the risky misfortune of the situation, wanting to desperately fire back at Isagi, but for the first time in the NEL, he misses his shot completely from using his new weapon, Kaiser's Impact Magnus, in all the wrong conditions. Kaiser is falling apart. Chapter 260. Kaiser's tragic backstory. If you are all disturbed by acts of violence committed against children or any forms of abuse in general, I suggest you skip ahead to the number on screen. I'll be doing my best to not make this backstory as needed in the explanation of the importance of Kaiser, so don't be forced to watch this if you are uncomfortable with it. You have been warned. Kaiser, as a child, was a victim of abuse, neglect, and lived in poverty, where he had to commit criminal acts in order to replenish himself, but also feed into his father's alcoholism that he had succumbed to upon the mother abandoning the two shortly after Kaiser's birth. Kaiser finds the one thing in his life that always comes back to him. No matter how rough he got, it always stayed intact. No matter the circumstances, it was his one and only friend, football. His one and only true love. Upon being framed of a crime he did not commit, Kaiser was arrested, but before he was taken away, his father attempted to strip him of the one last thing, the only thing Kaiser now cared for. This action made Kaiser irate, and he attacked his father and the police officers with nothing but his feet and a football. Kaiser, upon being locked up, was given a chance to play football under the greedful eye of Ray Dark. Kaiser's pleasure for football derived from his horrific childhood that he had. He didn't take enjoyment in causing physical damage to his rivals, it was all psychological, taking after his father unintentionally to become what he hates, all the while using football as a handle, as he wanted to hold on to something that he loved for dear life, to hide his true insecurities. The match between PXG and Bastard continues. Kaiser's ego is continuing to be dismantled by Isagi, who is sticking by his word to make him the Naked Emperor. However, this is what he needs in order to evolve. Kaiser discovers he is afraid of going back. The trauma of his childhood is weighing him down all these years later, and he thinks losing to Isagi will cause that all to reappear. To be afraid of losing everything he has achieved up until now means he is not maturing, he is not evolving, he is on chains for as long as his motivation to play football is to avoid what he's afraid of. He will never be free until he throws everything away to change, in order to protect his ego, all for what he lives for most. Kaiser's whole approach changes. He doesn't hyperfixate on Isagi anymore, he instead intercepts the pass points to his allies instead, leaving no room to be taken advantage of by Isagi by predicting his combination attacks. Isagi's impact on Kaiser has changed his mindset too. Maybe they're just too perfect for each other. Kaiser knows the field is dominated by Isagi and his allies, so he decides to forcefully push himself away from the predictable passing course of Ness, and instead passes to Yoichi. This is part of him discarding everything to succeed. Although he was countered, this mindset was proving to be much more sustainable than toxically sticking by his own philosophy. He's allowing others to bring out their potential just like Isagi. His cunning strategy is making people like Yoichi and Kunigami pass to him whilst their hands are too full to make full use of the ball themselves, a strategy way more logical than anything prior. Kaiser's new approach all led to his goal scoring opportunity, made up by factors in which he is leaning into. Ness retrieved a loose ball to pass directly to Kaiser, in which he saw as useless, letting it pass him by for a player with no accolades, Kiora, to receive the ball and decide between Isagi or Kaiser. Kyora's assist can be considered biased, as he was stopped from playing against the Ubers because of Isagi, so in the end, he chose Kaiser. With a pass and an element of luck perfect for his Magnus shot, the new Michael Kaiser scores, rebuilding the foundation of his ego to stand tall once more. Damn you, superstar. And that's where we end our analysis for now. Conclusion: we have all followed Isagi and got to know the type of striker he wants to be. Throughout his journey of growth, no man could have nearly as much significance in Isagi's growth than Kaiser. Isagi was given challenge, punishment, growth, success, and more from Kaiser as an unintentional guide. The rivalry between the boy who chose football because he was fortunate enough to follow his dreams, and the boy whose only choice was football in order to feel loved for the first time in his life. Isagi overcame the difficulties of Kaiser's dominant team, cutting down to replace his lackeys, beating his right-hand man, and finally outplaying a professional level player, all within the 100 plus chapters Kaiser has been around for. If it weren't for Kaiser, Isagi wouldn't likely have metavision, or at least as high of an understanding of it. Isagi would have never pushed as hard as he did, and I believe he would be near the bottom of qualifiers for the Japan U20 team. But Isagi isn't the only person who was impacted by the existence of Kaiser, so was Ness. So was Noah, the entire team of Bastard, and even us. We've come to love this character despite his shortcomings as a person, and we appreciate him for all the values and storylines he has given us. So if by the end of this video you still don't get why Kaiser is so important to the story, just watch the video again to give me some extra watch time, or go back and read through chapters 156 to chapter 266, and you can understand why Kaiser was the perfect antagonist for our main character, because in the end, much like our main character, he grew and learn to be the striker he wants to be. So no matter what, he will always be our precious blue rose. Be sure to like and subscribe, and until next time, peace.